Hi, I'm Malcolm McDowell, also known as Vata Orlag from Metalocalypse, and you're listening to the only Metalocalypse podcast on Earth, DETHKAST. Enjoy.
What's going on, Warped Tour? Welcome back to another fantastic episode of the Weekly Geekly. I am here with the most metal duo in the history of podcasting, Lucian and Dustin. How are you guys today? What's going on?
Zero Omens with the intro. Holy shit. Thank you, buddy. That was great.
Of course.
That was great.
Oh, hell yeah. Happy to be here, my man. And thank you for doing this. Like I said, we threw you up in the host spot. We're stoked to be here, man.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor. It's an honor.
He's
a pleasure.
gotta throw on the voice. I love it.
I won't do it the whole time. Just a little bit.
Please don't.
No. This is normal me.
Oh, man. Yeah, thanks for having us, Zero. Thanks for hosting the show. This is the first time ever I think we've had someone else host the Weekly Geekly. So this is a challenge, and we're sitting in the different side of the seat this time. It's different for us, so I'm excited to get into it.
This is going to be very interesting, and again, thank you guys for having me hosting. I really appreciate it.
Oh, of course. And thank you for all the love you've shown for what we do, man. We appreciate that, too.
Of course. I mean, you guys are doing something I've never seen anybody do before. I mean, having a podcast set in the fictional world of Metalocalypse and Deathclock. I mean, I've never seen anybody do that for a TV show before, so it's interesting. And I think more people should know about it.
Well, thanks, man. That means a lot, and especially in today's day and age where it's pay to play for promotion. I mean, just hearing anyone say that makes me feel great about what we're doing, so thank you.
Yeah, definitely, man. Really appreciate it. And like I said, to all of you out there who are fans of ours, we'll get it right off the top. If you haven't given a chance to go over to Zero Omen's YouTube page and hit that like and subscribe button for him. But also, if you haven't checked out the Iceberg, he does a lot of different Iceberg videos. He is definitely a authority on the topic, but it seems like if you've watched any of his videos, they're well put together. So go give him a like, go give him a follow, subscribe button. But yeah, we are a part of the Metalocalypse Explained Iceberg. We're a little bit down there because we are kind of this meta in the universe thing. But yeah, definitely go give him a shout.
Appreciate the shout out, guys. Thank you.
Yeah, and honestly, I think most of the people that know about DEATHKAST, about our show, it's from your video. Like, there are people still joining our Discord that are like, oh yeah, I literally found you guys 4 or 5 months ago through an Iceberg video. And I was like, holy shit, it's still going on, man. I think it's so awesome that like both of our fan bases are kind of like intertwining in that way. It's fun to see.
Yeah, that is insane that a shout out from one of my videos has helped you guys out in a positive way, has increased the viewers, the listeners. And that's awesome. Like, just last night in the Discord server, somebody mentioned that they found DEATHKAST from my video, which was cool to see.
Yeah, that warmed my heart. Just that person kind of like leaning in on it and telling us what they thought of the show and all the feedback, man. That's literally why we're doing this, is just for the fans and for ourselves, because we all want to make this fan project just to show off how much we love Metalocalypse. So if that's what it's doing, I think it's serving a purpose, and it's hitting all the goals we wanted. So
yeah,
Nailed it.
I mean, should we just jump right into it? I got a lot of questions.
You got a
for
lot
you guys.
of questions. We're gonna get nitty gritty on the behind the scenes of DEATHKAST. I'm curious, Zero. What do you got for me?
All right, let me hit you guys with question number one. I mean, I think a lot of people want to know how did the podcast start? Like, what was its origin story?
Oh man,
Me arguing with Lucian about if it was a good idea or not.
so
I can admit when I'm wrong.
No, I don't think you were wrong. See, here's the thing. People don't know this about the Geekly. It's like checks and balances, okay? I'm like the manic one that's always like hyper obsessing over stuff and is like, oh my God, this could be great. 90% of my ideas, Dusty will shoot down for the best of reasons, because he's like, listen, I love your passion. I love what you want to do, but I don't think it would work. And here's why. And I think it was a very weird time on the Geekly when I even thought up this idea, because Dusty, I don't know if you remember, we at the time were like, we're not doing any more series. We're just going to do roundtables. We're just going to do reviews. And then I think maybe like half a week later, I come to you and I go, listen, I know we just said that, but bro, I have the
absolute
best
motherfucker.
idea. I was like, I have the best idea. And I remember sitting down with Dustin and explaining the concept. And just the concept alone, you were kind of like, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if we can. Like, how would it even look? And I was like, let me just do the nitty gritty, write everything down, and let's just try it. Like, you may not even like it. We may try this and it sucks and we don't want to do it.
But it was worth an afternoon kind of thing. And, you know, I agree. I saw the value in it, like, pretty much immediately, because I was like, dude, I love that show. I mean, I own all of the seasons on DVD from, like, I got them back in, like, the early 2010s. Like, I love the show. I just wanted to ask him, I was like, you know, do you really think that there's that big of a market? Like,
yeah.
We're going to put hours into this. And so it kind of birthed from there, just a couple of concept meetings and a couple of convincing me. And then when I had no idea at the beginning that they were talking about putting a Death Clock movie in the works at this time, like over a year ago, and I was like, you know, and then when he told me, he's like, well, there's this movie coming out. We can do this. We can break some of them in half, break some of them in parts. We can do one-offs. I have a vision. And after that, I was like, all right, man, well, if you got the time to sit down and do a little script writing, let me see what you come up with. I can make a character pretty easily. And then I think that we can do this a good service to tell the story of Death Clock in a loose way, because this is for super fans. Let's be honest.
Oh, for sure.
It's for something that people, they probably will generally remember. So that's why we kind of breeze through the topics of the actual show and just do it like, and at this point in the documentary, we were at, you know, blah, blah, blah. But it definitely birthed itself naturally from just fandom of Lucian being like even a bigger super fan of Metalocalypse than I am. And just, again, sitting in his creative brain, throwing ideas at the wall until one of them sticks. And after I went into the studio the first time we sat down, I think I even remember telling you, I was like, oh, okay, I see what you were saying. This is a good idea. And also, as you said at the top, Zero Omens, which I appreciate, like, yeah, this isn't something you see a whole lot, where you get fan fiction where they're just placing themselves in the universe.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what we had going for us, is like, I did the research beforehand and I was like, okay, are there even any Metalocalypse podcasts out there? Because I don't want to do what's been done before. And I'm not even shitting you, dude. There was like a research paper on YouTube. A musician reacts to Metalocalypse on YouTube. And then I think one episode of one podcast 6 years ago brought it up, but no one's actually made like branded content for it. So I saw the opportunity. I said, Dustin, with this movie coming out, man, there's going to be so much buzz, and there's already so many people that have been on the edge of their seats for this movie. We got to capitalize on that. And I think that's exactly what the show started to do.
I agree, man. That's pretty much, it's a couple of concept meetings, and then we got down to it. We started making friends, and it popped our Discord off, and shit, here we are.
Yeah, almost a year later, and we're still churning out episodes, man. It's crazy.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. Let this be a lesson to everybody listening, by the way. Always trust your friends when they have a vision.
It's true.
Yeah.
And always, I'll say this, trust your friends if they say it won't work. Because so many times we'll walk into something with this idea of, well, if I just do it this way, it'll work. There's nothing wrong with rehashing an idea. There's nothing wrong with taking notes and changing your idea to maybe be a little more fluid. I will say, like, yeah, I came up with this, but Dustin has had just as much say in the process of what we do, especially when it comes to recording. There's so many times where we're thinking, okay, well, how do we want to approach this after this happens? And I kind of bounce off Dustin for that continuity the whole time. So it's definitely a team effort.
For sure. You do a lot of like Lucian does most when we're talking strictly about R2, and actually, like I said, there's a team of people behind us that really help us do this, and it's grown. But when it started with just us two in the studio, he does a lot of like the creative producing, designing, like placing these parts together, and I do a lot of just like directing.
Yeah.
Like, this is how I think it should sound. I feel like if we do this kind of inflection, does this make sense here? Should we pull it over here? I need more out of this scene here. I do a lot of directing there, but he's really the creative force around writing a lot of like R-based scripts, and then helping us kind of put these puzzle pieces into place. And then, like I said, we have a team of writers and other people, a small but mighty team that's all just on the goodness of their own black little hearts.
Yeah,
they're helping us.
Yeah, we're very blessed to have the team we have, man. We wouldn't be able to put this out without them. Honestly,
it wouldn't be where it is now with the level of production that it is, which is pretty much just like Death Clock, which we thought was funny. Watching season 1 of Metalocalypse, the little like 11-minute, super fast, weird, like a little bit more random shit episodes, and then it starts to get a little bit more confined. It starts to have a little bit more running jokes. It has a little bit more just meat to it, and it worked the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Oh,
no, you're cool.
Yeah, no, that's usually how it works with like a new idea for a TV show or something. Somebody will have the idea, they'll put it out there, and over time it morphs and it grows into something bigger, and it becomes more organized. And I'm very happy personally as a fan of you guys that this idea became something much bigger, and you guys, along with your team, managed to put together something beautiful. I mean, you guys are really keeping the community alive here.
Well, thank you, man. I don't know if we're necessarily keeping it alive or just defibrillating it over and over. We're doing something. I mean, people like it, and I'm grateful for that every day. That people, I wake up every day and check the numbers, and I notice when all of you guys listen, I see it. So we really appreciate just the reception that we have had so far. So.
Mm-hmm.
All for you guys, seriously. Like, you keep listening, and we'll keep recording. So. Hit me with another one, Zero. Give me some hard-hitting questions. What do you got?
All right. I would, let me think. How much pressure is it on you guys to try and not break the pre-established lore of the show? Oh,
that's a good one. Dusty, you want to take that?
You know, even though I don't do as much writing, if you can't tell, my character just panics and freestyles a whole bunch. Like, so I mean, like, it's something that I don't do a whole bunch of the writing, and I feel like that gives I read all of it, and I'm in the scripts, and I'm part of the process. But yeah, when it comes to how hard is it to stick to the lore, this silly ass Adult Swim cartoon really it doesn't make it difficult at all, if you want to be honest, from my perspective. I feel like the whole universe as it's set when you watch the show is so goofy and entirely focused on the boys and kind of what they're doing. There's usually always one of them in a scene, and if it's not, it's usually like the Illuminati Club or whatever you want to call them for the like, I can't remember the name of Project Falconback or all that stuff too. But like, there's something that's referencing the boys, or they're in it, and because there's 5 of them, much like South Park, for example, you could have like a Cartman and Kenny episode, or you could have a this, you could do this. So it lends itself creativity wise. I don't ever feel like I'm forgetting where we are in the lore, or that I should. Oh yeah, I can't say this because that didn't happen. If you're a fan of the show the way that we are, this just it provides us such a loose basis because there's so much goofy shit happening that we just kind of place ourselves in these episodes, and like have been interviewing people like, oh yeah, it'd be funny to get the lamp guy that's in the background changing light bulbs from when they were doing. I honestly don't even remember like where we were at in episode 1 when like we talked to him. We're like, yeah, there's a guy in the background of this scene. It'd be great so like that it makes it so open.
Yeah,
that it's honestly pretty easy to stick to the lore.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't really hard for us because, like you said, there's so much laid out. And like Dustin was saying before, the show is from 100% Death Clock's point of view. So the idea of doing it from the Clocketeer's point of view, I think first off, we knew that we were going to explore some additional stuff that you would have assumed would be in the show, but maybe wasn't. For example, in the first part, there's like a message we get from a clocketeer that works for Murderface, and they're like, here's a list of some secret items in his collection that you didn't know about. And it's not stuff that they showed in the show, but listening to the stuff, you're like, oh, this all feels like it could be a part of the show. So the biggest rule we have with lore, I guess, is we never want to change what we already know. We always want to add things that you could see being a part of what we already know. So like that comes down to even interviews. There are a number of ideas in interviews that I've kicked out the door because I'm like, listen, I like it, but I don't want to change what we know. And I don't want someone thinking we're changing the lore. I always just want to like add on to what we have. So it's kind of a fine line we walk, especially with these later episodes, because we start doing stuff that gets a little bit crazier at like part 3 to part 4. And you kind of have to wonder, like, what does some of this have to do with the episode? like in part 4, there's straight up like 3 or 4 things that literally are just like random. But one thing we thought would be really fun is from part 1 to part 4, there's 5 episodes there. And I wanted it to get this feel of, as you're listening to the show, it's getting more popular. There's more people calling in. There's more chaos. There's more just absurdness that we have to deal with, because it also makes the lives of 616 and 47 like a little bit bleaker. And I love self-deprecation and humor, so that was always part of this. It was like, how do we drive these 2 characters crazy? And I think we fully succeeded in that, especially in parts 3.5 and 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah, very hard line to walk, but I think the more we've done it, Zero, I think the easier it gets.
Very true.
That's good.
Keep them coming, baby.
All right. I mean, how are you able to blend multiple voices in the writing and still have it come across as a cohesive piece?
Which I'll let you kind of take that one there, because it really does, to be in short, to give you like a 1-sentence answer. We just try and just do a bit of inflection, like make him sound like a dork, or like get him a little more gruff, but not like all the way down. Just like change slightly, and then tweak it essentially with just effects. But being able to get coherency through it, I mean, that's something that's a little bit more up your alley, Lucian.
Yeah. Well, definitely vocally with effects, we love to play around with stuff. We've had women do parts and we turn them into men. We've had guys that are big and tough do parts and I turn them into like small dwarf guys, voice-wise. Very fun. It's very important to us to mimic or to manipulate voices, because people don't know this until you start looking at the credits, but we have a number of actors that have played, multiple roles at least. So you run into this problem of like, okay, well, is it going to sound like the same person called in next episode and they're just someone else? Sometimes we run into that problem. I think there were maybe 2 characters that sounded a little too similar together.
Yeah,
but it's very
rare. I want to interject too is the idea that like the biggest thing that I try and do if we're gonna do voice character acting is the inflection.
Yeah,
because I could talk way up here or I could talk way down here, but I'm like just as excited on either one. Might use like the same pauses, the same ums, ers, like holding on, and you can. So sometimes you can kind of tell that it's like, oh, this is the same voice actor that does that. But you even get that in video games, like with the Hitman stuff that I have right behind me over here. There's some NPCs where like I'll hear them say something, I'll be like, oh, you're actually one of like, that's the same voice actor as like the main character. This is just they needed someone to do this, and he couldn't get away from not having that same kind of inflection to his voice or whatever it is. So that's the biggest thing that in my head I try and change is to just not use the same cadence, rhythm, and ums, ers, stutter spots, and allow to make it seem like it's a completely different person, because the voice will sound different.
Right. And I guess on another plane on that question, if we're talking in the writing aspect of it, that 100% comes down to the fact that ever since part 2, we've employed other people to write their parts. I don't know if people know this, but 90% of the interviews and calls that we have are not written by Dusty and I. They're written by the Clocketeers or the people in that interview. We try to give everyone free range of what they want to say. Now, obviously, we're going to be like, hey, I would cut this out. Hey, maybe cut it down 3 more minutes. Where's the punchline? How long we're going to, we try to coach people as much as we can. But I think it's important to have multiple writing styles in these episodes to just give it that feel that you're listening to multiple episodes of Metalocalypse. Like each episode needs to have its own kind of flair to distinguish itself from the other parts of the show. So I think it's really important to have synergy between you and your team, especially if you want to stick to a schedule and do it right. Because I mean, we started putting these out, I want to say last May. Something like that was the first one. And part 4, our 5th episode, just released this January. So It's taken some time, but I mean, shit, man, look at all we've gotten done. We've done about 7.5 hours of Metalocalypse content. But that hasn't been without its struggles. You know, there have been plenty of challenges that we'd had to overcome, but I think having that team to lend itself to different voices in terms of writing really helps us kind of consolidate all that and break it down and be able to bear it a little easier. So
I agree. Having different writers is crucial for that too. If you do have a different person that writes with a different inflection, and especially if you have a good writer with voice, like, and they have their own voice, like, to use the English 10 term, like using it's high school terms, like being able to write with inflection and voice is something that's hard. Because a lot of times people could be great linguists, but when they write something, it sounds like, and then this summer I went to the beach, and then like they're not good writers. You know what I mean? So if you can find a writer with real voice and real inflection, and you could hear them saying it, then you can make it your own too, and it's going to change your cadence and just how you feel.
Oh, yeah. I think that helps us out a lot, especially when me and Dusty get people that write for us. It's fun because you can tell they were thinking of us when they wrote it. And so you kind of like automatically know where they're going. It just makes things a little easier. I love it.
Absolutely.
So when fans send in like, or when fans do lines for you guys, like how fun is it to listen to the fans say or recite the lines that you guys wrote up? Like for me, for example, like I was featured in part 4.
Yeah.
And I did all of those wacky voices, even though I've never done voice acting in my entire life.
It's definitely entertaining, I'll tell you that. Just to scroll through all of the entries and just like pick out like what's gonna work, what isn't, but then also like the weird choices people make in some of their voice acting. It makes me laugh, and I have all of them saved, so it's fun to know I can just go back to them whenever I want. But
you keep them saved.
Oh yeah,
okay.
I call it the brain. I have an external hard drive on my computer. It's just 1 terabyte full of DETHKAST stuff. So I'm continuously adding to that. So yeah, if you've ever sent us a clip, we have it still. We don't delete it.
It's on wax.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let you forget it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It's honestly, definitely motivating.
To put an answer to it, it's a lot of fun. Like it's a blast hearing, especially because, like you said, you did a couple lines and you've never done any voice acting work or anything like that. And to hear people just give their crack at it, and like, honestly, sometimes people are just bad, but it still works, and it doesn't fucking matter because it sounds raw, real. Like here's a question that someone's long-time listener, first-time caller, very nervous. I just want to ask. Like it comes off genuine, and it makes it like it sounds like we're in that universe. Nothing's going to be perfect, and it's certainly like in every episode of Metalocalypse, there's some crazy fuck up that happens, and so. It is a lot of fun, and it makes me feel good. Like you were saying, every time you're in your Discord, or we're just like, hey, we just got that batch back from Clocketeer 420 for this next skit. Let's hear what you got, man.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there just like crying, laughing, because he's just sitting in his basement going, just like yelling and shit. Like it's so much fun, dude. It's a great time, to be honest.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun behind the scenes, just goofing off, man. Like half the time we're recording and listening to other people's stuff, we are just dying in the background, taking some shots and just laughing between takes. So I think that just having fun on this project is like literally the reason we're still doing it. I know I speak for Dusty when I say if after 5 episodes we didn't have any fun doing this, we would not have kept doing it. Like
1000%, dude. This has been a blast since the first day. So
hell yeah,
that's awesome to hear. So, question: how did the podcast end up getting animated?
Oh, that is a good question. So we decided to make a Twitter for it because I was like, Twitter's a good place to get buzz going, kind of like feel how things are going in the market, I guess you could say. And we had just been posting about, hey, we'd love to get some art for this show if anyone's down. And we had a fan from Japan actually hit us up.
9HP, right?
Yeah. I call him AO for short because it's AO 9HP is their name. But they hit me up on Twitter and said, listen, I've been binging the first couple episodes. I love this. I really want to do something with you guys. What do you want to do? I said, well, I'd love to get this animated and thrown up on YouTube, because visually it would just be so much fun to see all these jokes and the Foley art and everything kind of take place. And immediately they were like, I'm on it. And I think it was under a month later, I had like 10 to 15 slides of just artwork on every Clocketeer. The whole studio was drawn up, and I loved it. Their artwork definitely fit the tone and the aesthetic of not only Metalocalypse, but what we wanted it to be. It's a little rougher, a little looser, but it's still detailed. And
I feel like it looks like home movies.
Yeah, totally. It does look like home movies. You're right.
Long heads, kind of squiggly a little bit all over the place. But since we're not animated, some of the ones like the title picture for Deathcast 1 that's up there with like the Clocketeer on the phone, that's like really detailed and really well drawn. Like, but it's still like in that same kind of big, hard, goofy lines. Like, it reminds me of home movies.
Oh, for sure. And which is just funny because it's Brendan Small. But they immediately loved it, wanted to do part 1. I said, let's do it. Took a little break after part 1 came out, and this of course was after your video, the iceberg, and they were like, I'm coming back, let's do part 2. So we took a month off animation, and they got back to it, sent us part 2, and we threw that up on YouTube, and the rest is history. I still want to get all of them animated, and that's the plan. Currently, AO sent me a message on Discord maybe a week ago and said, hey, I've been busy at work. It's the busiest time of the year for me, but I'm still going to get you the Deathcast Part 3 slides pretty soon. So we're looking forward to that. But we're also trying to open it up to anybody who wants to add art, because I'd love to do a collaboration where maybe we do an episode and the art style changes. Because you see, like that episode of Bob's Burgers where every 5 minutes it was a new artist. Something like that would be really neat. So if there's anyone listening to this and you like Deathcast and you draw or you do any kind of art, hit us up. Join the Discord. Hit us up on social media. We'd love to get in contact.
Concept of 47 and 616 just sitting at a table.
Oh, yeah. Just send us anything. We'd love to use it. It'd be great. But yeah, that's how it started. Literally just someone, AO hit me up on Twitter and said, I love what you're doing. Let me be a part of it. And I said, we need that. I saw the need for that in our content. And yeah, now we have 2 animated episodes up on YouTube. You can check them out right now on the Weekly Geekly's YouTube page. And those
all
are just
of our
taken
episodes
off.
are up there finally.
We're now getting all episodes on YouTube just to kind of cover all of our bases, so you can see that on there too. And part 3 should be, starting to be in the works here pretty soon, so look forward to that as well.
And I'm very happy that you want to do more animated episodes, because that was actually my next question, if there were more plans for animated episodes in the future.
Oh yeah, I don't want to stop. I want to convert everything we have into animated. I think that's just the best move. Why not? It's made for sound because it's all Foley jokes and timing and music and everything's so precise, but if you can add another layer of funny on top of it by making visuals, why not?
Yeah. And because me personally, when I watch podcasts, I tend to watch them more on YouTube. I like the visuals. I like to watch the people talk.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, they listen to podcasts on their morning commute, so they'll usually just pull it up on Spotify or something. So it's nice that you guys are wanting to cover every single basis, I guess.
Oh yeah, and then who knows? Maybe someone listens to all the episodes and doesn't even know we're animated, and then finds them one day and goes, "Oh, holy shit! I can enjoy this again." So in a different way. So I just want to make as many mediums about this art that we can do, just to try to get it out there. I think that's the best policy, I guess.
100%, man.
Yeah. Personal question from me. What are you guys' favorite Death Clock song or songs, if you can't choose one?
Well,
I know you have an answer off the tip. Go ahead.
I got one right away. My favorite is Andromeda.
That's a good one.
I love that song. I love the TV version of it, but I also love the studio version. I think the story behind it, being that Nathan just didn't want to suck that guy's dick, so he just freeballed a bunch of lyrics. That was like the best thing ever for me, because I was like, holy shit, this is my favorite song, and that's why it was written, kind of. And it's just so fast paced, and it kind of just encapsulates everything I like about Death Clock. What
I
about-
agree.
what
That's
about you,
a
Dusty?
really good song. Me personally, and it's mainly because I wanted to sit down one day. I'd probably say Bloodrecruited.
Yes, classic.
Right, from the
Classic.
first album. I just have always fucking just liked the riff. It did dun, 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 dun. It's just like always. It's just constant. It's a groove. It's the lyrics are silly, like a lot of them are. But it's just the chorus is catchy. And I sat down and honestly, they're pretty difficult songs to play on a lot of levels. I mean, and I play some guitar, play some bass myself. And actually, in our Discord, I was like, hey, I covered Bloodrecruited once.
Yeah, I remember that.
Threw it up there as a video and actually figured out how to play it. And I was like, oh shit, this is a fun song. So I might be a little bit biased in that case because I figured out it's the one of their songs that I know how to play. I mean, I can play Thunder Horse too, but yeah. That one's on Guitar Hero. Everyone knows it. So. But yeah, Bloodrecruited.
What about you, Zero? What's your favorite Death Clock song?
Good
I
question.
will say Andromeda, one of my favorites. Mermaider, that's a classic. Everybody likes Mermaider. And I would also say I Ejaculate Fire.
Ooh,
Yes, dude.
yes.
It's just a solid song.
It
yes.
blew people's minds when it was like, hey, Death Clock's coming back, by the way. And I was like, on Adult Swim, I was like, whoa, really? And they're like, and there's High Scream. So I was like, what do you mean? And then it was just like, that was one of the singles that came off that album. I was like, yeah, this is completely different, but still sounds like Death Clock.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I remember when I was younger and that started happening and hearing the new music. Not gonna lie, at first I didn't know how to take it. I was like, I don't know if I like this, but it immediately grew on me. And especially with that second album and the song "The Gears," dude, come on,
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice when I'm a personal fan of when bands kind of evolve their sound a bit, change things up, change the formula. So
Yeah.
it was good to listen to that, something new.
And it's they have to evolve, just to see a band evolve to what it's supposed to be. Just it feels so good to watch that happen. Zero, I have a surprise for you.
Okay.
We have a surprise guest in the Discord. I don't know if he's ready or not. I see him lurking in the shadows.
We could assume he might be, but
I don't know.
We've also left him sitting.
We also left him sitting listening to this. He could have just passed out on the couch.
Which is
He
completely
unmuted himself. Here he is, folks. Longtime writer, producer, and honestly, the guy who's played the most roles on DETHKAST so far. The one and only Tom Randolph is here in Discord with us. Tom, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, buddies.
Welcome
Hey,
in.
buddies.
Thanks for joining us, bud.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Hell
and
yeah.
Thanks, Zero, for doing this. This is fucking rad.
Hell yeah,
Of
dude.
course.
Crank your mic up a tad for me, Tom.
Of course.
Get me all nice and boosted. There we go.
How about now?
Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
No, thanks for joining us, man. We were talking about having someone join in, and I thought, Tom has been here since part one. You were one of the voicemails. Tom actually got in a little late on part one. You messaged me right as I was editing the actual show, and he was like, "Man, I want to get in on this." And I was like, I'm actually putting it together as we talk, but why don't you record a voicemail here, and I'll throw it in. And you were the shepherd. That I think,
Yeah, that was it. The Horn Shepherd.
the horned shepherd, and you immediately latched onto the project. And then part two, you were like, "Bro, I write. I am a writer. Let me get in on this shit." And I think that was one of the best ideas we had, was to bring you in as a writer, because things have grown exponentially since then, man. The jokes are so highbrow sometimes. There's been a couple that I've had to have you talk to me about. I'm like, what does this mean? Because man, your writing is so intricate, but it has so many layers of humor. I was really grateful for that.
Well, thanks. And I mean, you guys doing it at all in the first place, straight up, this has more than anything been therapy. Yeah. And I say that because the reason I got in late was I ended up, when I was recovering from my second surgery of the year last year, I saw this shout out on Reddit, and I was like, okay, my favorite show. They're doing a thing. They're asking you do things. Yeah. Okay. Make this happen.
The math is
And-
mathing.
Yeah, and I mean, not for anything, but I've literally been a fan since day one. I remember of the show even. Ended up right after I graduated from my first college, moved back home, and I ended up having to watch it on adultswim.com on my little like compact laptop with the shitty speakers set up, because I was like, I know this is going to be fucking rad. It's Brendan Small.
Right.
And then ever since then, it's just been on a loop in my head. And yeah, the writing has been therapy, because these voices have lived in my head for what, fucking almost 16, 17 years now.
Yeah, and now you have an outlet for these voices and these ideas that you get from it. And I'm just glad that we could give you like a clean, fresh sheet of paper to draw on, man, because watching your creativity just keep blooming every episode has been one of the most fun things to watch. Like I know I speak for Dusty and myself when I say that, like, whenever you have a specialist on the phone, we're both like, oh God, what's going to happen? Like, what now? It just become this running joke.
Generally how it goes in my life.
47 and 616 are just trying to get these specialists on to make the show something better. Just like, oh, maybe we can make it a little more dense and rich with content. And every single time it just goes wrong, or like we get pranked, or somebody accidentally dies. I mean, it's just like traumatic experiences through your work, and I love it. Like,
it fits the Metalocalypse universe so well, which is also why we're more than happy to have him be like a part of the team and have you like be essentially, if you want to say it, like the lead writer, really, in a way, when it comes to like a lot of the bits, a lot of the skits, a lot of the extras in the scripts. Like we really turned to Tom as someone who's like, all right, well, I trust him. When I sit down in the next booth in the studio, it's going to be there. And not only is it going to be there on time and like together, I laugh. Like, I laugh reading it. I already see that he understands, like what I was saying earlier, understands inflection, understands voice and tone, has his own, but then knows how to write for each one of us as well, which is invaluable, my friend. So, and again, big thank you to you for everything you do, first of all. But yeah, it's been
appreciate it.
Oh, for sure.
It's real easy.
Yeah. And I mean, the funniest thing about all this right now is, Dusty, this is the first time you and I are actually talking.
Yeah. So true.
Boy, mate.
That's so true. We spend so much time on Discord. It's like some of us don't even talk to each other outside of it. And then we get things like this that happen, and it's like, oh, shit. Yeah.
Honestly, Tom's probably done more meetings and more production than I have.
That's true. That's true.
Well, the easiest thing is your voice is just so easy to write for. Like, that's the thing, is you've established this character, which you remind me of my old comedy troupe friend from college back in the day.
Oh, yeah, I have a muse.
Nick Judy. I don't know if he listens, but God damn it. Every time I write, I'm writing through him for you, and it just always is a gem.
Yeah, I mean, awesome, you can totally tell. Like, it does feel like you know Dusty when you're writing for his character, when you're writing for him. The things you have him react at, like the way he reacts, the things he says, I'm like, this does sound like Dusty. So I think it totally comes through in the script, and that just makes our life so much easier when it comes time to record, because we know, like you said, Dusty, walking into the studio, we know it's going to be there, we know it's going to be good, we know it's going to be funny, and we know that you can kind of take us through that if we're like, well, how do I say this? What's this going to be? There's been a couple times where I'm like, oh shit, I said something wrong. Go back and re-record it. Like little things like that. Sure. It's nice to have somebody that can kind of bounce those off with. So I think, Tom, you've been one of the main reasons this show is like continued to thrive. And we can't say we appreciate you enough. Because I don't know where we'd be without your writing, man. Like, I did all the writing on part 1. And I think you have done most of the writing for the next few parts. And it's fun to see that go, because it's just like the Metalocalypse show. Like we were saying earlier, the first season's a little basic. The second season's twice as much. The third season's going back to their roots. The fourth season's rejoining society. And I think that we've tried to mimic what the show does in each part. We want to go, okay, well, last part, they had a lot of stuff. But this part, it's about half as much stuff, but it's really rich in this area, so maybe we can kind of manipulate that. Like, it's fun to have someone to bounce those creative ideas off of, and I think that that's why DETHKAST has maintained this level of quality, is because we have these checks and balances, just like we have, like I said before on the podcast, like we have these people that bounce ideas off of each other, and Tom has been one of those people where it's like, let's have fun in this little sandbox we created. Let's try to make something that's going to shock someone. Let's try to make something that's going to make someone laugh. I think we've totally achieved that. Tom, some of the stuff you did in part 4, I was like, holy shit. There was even one. So you did that 8.5 minute long ad for the skincare. People don't know this, but we actually had to deny the first draft of that because it was so outrageous that we were like, listen, we can go up to the line and flirt with it and like dip our toes over the line, but you just straight up cannonballed over the line. And I was like, bro, okay, we need to reword this because the joke is funny, but the delivery at the point was like a little cringe. So I'm glad that we rewrote like how you were saying it, but the joke is still there. But it's like this whole dance that you do where you're like, let me get ridiculous. Let me try to flirt with that line. And I think that's what makes it so much more fun.
Well, I mean, and that's what is the key to the success is kid gloves are off. If it's not funny, it's not funny. Don't get butthurt about it because it's all about making the show better. And, having that discourse in Discord is honestly what makes it more of a cohesive thing. Something isn't working, we don't shit talk each other. We work through it and walk through it together.
Oh, exactly. It's always a learning process.
I think one of the biggest reasons that this is successful is the same thing. You'll hear a lot of successful people talk about stuff, and it's because you can't get surrounded by yes men. Mm-hmm. You can't get surrounded by people that are just going to suck your ass and tell you, like, that's the funniest thing I've ever read. That sucked. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't... if you're surrounded by those people, you're never going to get something genuine. You have like in a long, like 20 minutes ago when you were like, how we kind of checks and balance each other when we were talking about, is this a good idea or is this not?
Yeah.
I am never going to be on this podcast a yes man where it's something like, yeah, we should just do that because fuck it, why not? I don't want to cheapen our brand and I don't want to go away from it. So having someone that's willing to cannonball over the line, fuck yeah. Do that every time.
Oh, for sure.
So we have to, tighten in those strings and tighten those ideas in. But having people, like you were saying, Tom, in Discord where we just chat and hang out like we would, what's funny, what's not, what sense of humors are around. Okay, push the bar. Go out there, do as much as you can, then tighten it in. It's art in a way. Yeah. So go experiment.
Oh yeah, it's been a fun process to see Tom jump over that line whenever he wants. Awesome. And I love it, dude. It's so much fun. Like I said, there's only one thing you wrote in 4 episodes that I've had to be like, is there a better way we can say this? And like, not even that I didn't want you to say it. I was like, there's just got to be a better way to say it. And I think being able to take those notes and that constructive criticism is something like you have to have as an artist, especially if you're collaborating. It's as much as your section of the episode is your baby, it's someone else's baby too. And we're all raising this weird death metal baby together and just trying to do the best job we can, But I think we're definitely...
It helps when you're not a dick.
Exactly. Exactly. Being able to talk to people about it definitely helps. Zero.
Yes.
You got any more questions?
I do.
Hit me. I'm curious. Right. Where are you at?
Tom, you're in on this if you have anything to add, my friend, of course.
Oh, don't tempt me.
I mean, I may as well hit you guys with another personal question. On a scale of 1 to hell yeah, how excited are you guys for the new movie coming out?
Oh, hell yeah times infinity, dude. It's been way too long. Way too long. Are you kidding me? That's an easy question, Zero Omens. Come on.
All right.
It's incalculable at this point.
Yeah.
We've been waiting fucking 10 years since Doomstar, and
I'm about to bust a load.
Them having their live shows in between has been fun. Like, I got lucky enough to see him live once in 2008 and once in 2009.
Yeah, my wife just saw them last August in Philly. So that was,
I just hope that tour is going to happen.
Oh, it's happening. Don't even say that. It's happening.
Don't you put that evil in my house.
Listen, they're recording the album. They're finishing the movie. Last April, Gene Hoglan said we are doing a tour once it is out. So I'm going to go off the word of Gene and just hope that it happens.
Mm-hmm. Gotta stay positive.
Exactly.
You know it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. I'm going to see him like 5 times. It's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. Was there anything in Metalocalypse that you felt was necessary to leave out of the podcast?
Oh, why? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I can think of something right off the bat.
Okay. Go ahead.
Dory McLean, she's only 14. Yeah. There's a couple things in the show where we're like, listen.
Fuck Dr. Roxo.
And here's the thing. Yeah. That's the running joke also in the podcast is just fuck the clown. It's not it's if they want to push that boundary, they can. Okay, it's their show. It was funny. It's whatever, but it's not our place to make those decisions. And especially in that terms of that, I was like, nah, man. In the terms of our show and what's important to the Metalocalypse and in the events leading up to it, the Dory McLean episode was not worth what could have been a very bad incident. So I'll say that, and then there's probably something I'm forgetting, but
there's a couple smaller details and a couple of things. Like when we talked about like the episode with Toki's father dying, we really didn't even like. It's like, and his dad died, and then so like, and then we kind of like, there's a whole, he's having like the whole conniption fit, and like with the doll, and he's dancing with Dr. Roxo in his little like torture pit or whatever he does, and like, that's a huge part of the show, but
we're gonna focus on quarters, bicentennial quarters.
Yeah,
that's what we're gonna focus on.
That's what we need to talk about.
Because it lends itself to so much more silliness.
Yeah.
Because then we can take something that's not already been overplayed, much like Lamp Guy in the background, or French Toast Holder, or whatever. Just like the people that are like the subliminal stuff around it is easier to write for because it's been unexperienced. So a lot of the times, like I said, with some Dr. Roxo stuff, or with just some of the parts of the story that are either already, whether you want to call it controversial or not important, or they're already like really played out and expanded. To go back to an earlier question, Zero, that's the kind of stuff that we don't do because it's already been so well expanded on that if we fuck with it, then we're fucking with the lore.
Exactly.
And we don't want to do that. So a lot of the times the things we skip, it is like, people are like, what about that? We've even got a few of those questions. Like, why didn't you talk about Dr. Roxo before the Dory McLean thing? It was like in the first season where he was just having like his rehab thing or not the first season, but when he was on his rehab thing, we were like kind of glossed over it too. It's because we thought, I halfway thought for a second, I was like, maybe we could find like Dr. Roxo's sponsor and try and have him like
I remember that
explain
idea.
how fucking crazy he really is to deal with. But then also it's like, we already know, like going in that's going to be like, he does a bunch of cocaine and he's always all over the like.
Right, it's
why
limiting.
don't we do something that's more challenging?
Well, yeah, exactly. That kind of makes me remember too. There was someone who wrote a interview with someone that was in rehab with Dr. Roxo, and I mean the interview itself wasn't a bad interview. It's just the idea was one of those ones that would have felt like it was shoehorned into the episode, and it really didn't add much into it. So. Yeah, there's been plenty of stuff we've left out. If for timing, maybe, but not a lot. I mean, honestly, we want to touch on most of it. I think sometimes, like in the earlier seasons, 1 and 2, when there's like 22 episodes, there's some stuff that's not going to be as important. And whether that's because it was talked about or not, that's neither here nor there. There's just obviously going to be beats of a season that aren't playing upon what we want. So a lot of it was just what's going to work for the Clocketeers, I think.
And I mean, going back to your earlier question back on, if we're worried about messing with the lore, obviously there's things that are kind of pivotal in the show that we got to touch upon, but the background lore is rife with visual gags of like, again, Lamp Guy, we keep going back to it. It was just a random fucking thing that I was like, there's this one Clocketeer that's bringing in the cheap lamps.
Yeah.
Not the expense, like just that tiny little delineation of okay, we're going to do this instead of this. All right, that guy's got a story. That guy's got a background. It's, henchmen have lives. That whole thing.
Yeah, for sure.
That's kind of what we realize. I think that's the other title of this show.
Henchmen have lives.
Until they don't.
Until they don't.
So, I mean, do you have any other funny stories or funny moments from making the show that were fun to you guys?
Oh man,
entertaining.
The funniest thing for me was I ended up doing all the songs for Y3Q 2269.
Oh my god!
And
I haven't laughed harder than geriatric, whatever the fuck that was.
Geriatric postmodern was. Oh my god!
I was tears.
Lucian sent me the video of you playing it for Anna and Dusty here for the first time. And I insisted, I made more than I should have so that we could cut it down.
Oh, but I left all of it
5-10
in.
second
I left
clips.
all of it in.
We're playing this fucking thing.
There's one of them that's like a straight up minute long, and I was like, we're playing the whole thing.
Like an hour,
Or there's one where you're literally just squeezing your cheeks.
No.
You're just doing this in the microphone. And I was like, yep, we're going to listen to this whole thing.
Yeah, that was...
No, it
that was
amazing.
one of the funnier moments in the studio, honestly, for me as well. But yeah.
Oh man, that was so good. There have been a lot of I would, to answer your question, Zero, I would say a lot of the funny moments for me and Dustin specifically are just the stupid things that happen while we're recording. Half of the fun is listening to what we make and laughing at it. But then the other half of the fun is just the dumb little things we'll accidentally say before we record, or just little funny accidents that happen. That makes it so much fun for me.
To break the wall a little bit, that's not saved in the brain on the terabit drive, but anytime that you hear where it goes and this morning the death clock, and when we have all of those things going on, we generally leave the recording button going because it's just easier to get back in on cue as opposed to do a hard clip.
Yeah.
So most of the time in the background, I'm yeah, you fucking suck me off. I hate this guy. Fuck him. And I'm just, in the background,
right. If we left all that in, it would be the weirdest episode.
But
yeah, we have all the original cuts of us just talking over things and being assholes. that's the most fun.
I guess doing a lot of the I don't know why I've just started making myself a prop actor while we're doing that. Half the time if you hear something in the show, when the robot tips over, he's oh shit, somebody help me up, and he falls over and I'm screw, and I picked up a chair in the studio and then set it on. I was oh shit, yeah, there you go, buddy.
Yeah,
and
little funny
stuff like that. He's got a MacBook down there, and so I'll usually anytime we're adding someone to the memoriam, I just kind of pick up the keyboard and go and just right next to the microphone, little things like that are just look, how are we gonna do that? How can we make this sound more realistic?
Yeah.
And just good voice acting stuff where they made 47 smoke a bunch of salvia. So I went into the back of the room and was just oh, and just freaking out in the background. That's some really of the more fun stuff that we get to do for this.
Yeah, honestly, half of the fun in recording is just doing that kind of stuff, figuring out how to make it funny, but also what's going to make it sound real for sure, man. I 100% agree with that, Dusty.
We have so much, you're saying, that the episodes are getting more chaotic.
Yeah.
And it's just an episode of Death Clock. Think about every single show. Someone accidentally, shoots off their cod piece, and now a whole bunch of acid goes into the reactor, and everyone's about to fucking die. Or, name it. Every single one of the Death Clock concerts in the show, something goes wrong, everybody starts dying, or even if it's pre-planned. And we wanted our show to be no different. So some of the more fun to me is literally, I'm sometimes we get into a groove where we're really, really paying attention. I'm oh yeah, this is a cartoon about farts. Let me fucking break a bottle in the background or something. Who gives a shit? Let's go do something to make some chaos happen. And because it's a cartoon at the end of the day, so.
Yeah, I 100% agree. That's where most of the fun is for us, is in the actual meat and potatoes of recording, man. There's just something fun about putting on a show, and faking and acting and having to play someone else and just make all these little things come to life. It's just so much fun, man. And it lends itself to really funny moments. And honestly, half the time I want to start recording our recording sessions just because I think they're so fucking funny. Like get a
behind
camera,
the scenes Patreon content or something.
Exactly. Get like a camera down here for when we're recording, or even live stream it in the Discord so people can watch us record. I think something like that would be fun to do.
That's a really good idea to live stream it in a Discord server.
That way,
And I
people
don't want to
you
step
know.
on any questions you might have coming forward, because we which is nice. You didn't brief us on any of them, and so I'm happy to answer these at random. But what I do want to say too is, like, we have had some, even just between me and Lucian ourselves, along with some of the people on Discord, be like, so when 4.5's over and then we do the Doomstar Requiem, what if the movie's not out yet? Do we not get DETHKAST for? No, like, we have no, even after the movie's done, as successful as it's been and as many fans as we have, I'll tell you right now that we have no plans of stopping, period. Like, and if there's the movie's done, why can't we still just have that? We're gonna have to rely on Tom a bit more. Then we're gonna have to have some more script writing. But like, yeah, I don't see any reason why not. That after we do 4.5 to finish the last of the 4 half of the season, then we do the Doomstar Requiem, which will be its own episode entirely. Ideally, by then we're getting some notes and some news about the movie in real life here, and we're gonna obviously just try and match that up to when we can get to that. But let's say there's a 6 to 8 month lull. I think it's entirely reasonable we could still put out 2 full DETHKAST parts. That's us just doing some script writing. Like, fuck, we haven't talked about it yet at all, to be honest. But like, I don't know, like us having to do a regular podcasting. Charles is telling us like, hey, the show isn't coming out for another few months. You got to do something. We hired you
That's
guys.
a good idea.
That's doable.
Well, and I'll drop an announcement right now if you want me to, Zero.
Oh,
Cheers.
by all means.
You're gonna hear it here first. We not only, like Dusty said, do we plan on continuing this show well after the content we're given, but we're actually getting ready to start production on a spin-off series, which is going to be following 420, 26, and 9053 in 420's labs. We're just going to call it 420 Labs. And it's going to be running alongside DETHKAST. So you'll have twice as much DETHKAST to check out.
Like shorter, more episode driven. Like, I think, like, granted, we'll talk about it as we go over along the time, but like more focused on just him and his shenanigans that he's doing a lot of the times. Like more like a Death Clock episode, just about 420. Like a concealed, smaller episode that are not like TikTok length by any means, like a 30-second or 2 minute, but like
I would say
a solid episode,
a 5 to 10 minute long episode
original
of
Death
what
Clock
he's going
episode on some of the bullshit that 420's been doing since we just came up with an idea to put a clocketeer in that's like the drug liaison, the drug czar for the band, because Pickles would need one.
Right.
Like, and then now he's become, not only has, and his name is also Tom, by the way. So
Yeah, not this one, but do love him. Do love him.
We got Tom with an H. We have a Thom and a Tom. No,
Thom and a Tom.
Foam, but we have like, he blew up in the way of like, we got such good feedback about the 420 character, and also Tom, shout out to him as well, Clocketeer 420. Like, he's got such a passion project going on with this. Like, he loves being a part of this so much. He's got such a good voice and just good abilities, always in all the meetings. And so we're like, dude, it's gotten a good enough reception that if like the meat and potatoes of like mainly what we're doing is still going to have these like hour to 2 hour long episodes where we're just kind of delving into content, and even going farther forward, I should say, where we are going to have to do our own stuff that isn't based on just doing like a documentary. We'll still have more interviews. We'll still have more people based on stuff that we could rehash or kind of go back to, like, remember that guy? Remember that day? And maybe some of the stuff that we did just gloss over in season 1 or 2 or whatever, that we could then make some situational stuff for those characters for. But yeah, that we're looking forward to quite a bit. Clocketeer 420 getting his own little, like, and those will definitely be on YouTube. Those will be easier to animate, but even just being audio too, we're going to try and get these little episodes up for people.
So a lot more DETHKAST coming.
That's awesome. So I'm glad you mentioned that you guys are going to continue DETHKAST. going forward, because that was one of my questions. And I'm very happy, very, very happy to hear that. And I'm also happy that there's a spinoff coming.
Yeah,
like that's really exciting, and I can't wait to see what you guys do with that. So what's the deal with 616 and 47? Like, are they really dead?
Ooh, or we're getting right into it, are we?
I really got to know.
Okay,
what's going on.
A little spoiler alert for those of you who have not gotten to part 4 yet, but there was an incident with let's just say a murder cycle went awry. Dusty, you think I should tell him?
Well, I will say, do your deductive reasoning. I won't give anything away.
The show will go on.
The show will go on.
Yeah, we'll say that. We'll say the show will go on.
Whether it's the spirits of 616 and 47, or we're sewn back together wrong, we'll find out.
There's always a possibility. I'm not going to spoil what comes next, but I will say, like Tom said, the show must go on.
You haven't heard the last of my dumb voice, don't worry.
All right. Well, I do have one final question for you guys. Have you guys ever considered making more podcasts similar to DETHKAST? Like, for example, have you ever considered making a podcast set in the world of Aqua Teen or Venture Bros or any other Adult Swim property, or really just any other television show in general?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah. Tom, why don't you go ahead first?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we've definitely, Lucian and I have kind of kicked around the idea. I definitely have had the idea of henchcast, of basically doing what we're doing, but with henchmen from Venture Brothers.
Yeah.
But that would be something that we need to take our time and make sure that we aren't divulging any focus from this.
Sure. Yeah.
And anything like that, because also we're with those three in particular. Aqua Teen just had their movie, and holy shit, they just got picked up for some more apps. And Dusty even interviewed Frylock.
Yeah, that was a boatload of fun. Both, like the hot dads on the show, by the way, because the Weekly Geekly encompasses quite a few things. There's a smaller show that we have on the network that does pretty good. That's me and one of the other anime hosts, Nate, that we call Hot Dads Cool Shots. It's just literally us reviewing drinks, reviewing alcohol, having a few drinks, talking about some stuff, having a little bit of smoke, doing our thing, and it fit right up our alley when Lucian was able to go up to. There was actually a Comic-Con here, not the exact Comic-Con. I can't remember exactly what it was called, but it's something that was of those con natures. It was at a mall here in Omaha, and Frylock, Kerry Means himself was there, and we were lucky enough to be able to form a repertoire and form a bit of a relationship with him. And then we did a Discord call, exactly like we're doing here. We sat down with Frylock, and that was honestly, like, I've met some celebrities. I've played some big shows with some big bands. I've met some people backstage that I'm proud of. Bro, getting to chill and having Frylock smoke a blunt the whole time he was talking to us. I'm dead serious, and he would be the first one to tell you that he was too. He was just sitting there chilling and chiefing, doing his thing, and that was honestly one of the better moments I've had on this podcast in the years I've been on it, period. But yeah, and like you said, Tom, the fact that, like, we are big Adult Swim fans, obviously, in general. Every show's got a little bit of a different flavor on the network, but there's a reason that they're branded as Adult Swim content. I think it'd be fun to dip into the Venture Bros. I think it'd be fun. Shit, even if me and Nate just put ourselves as, like, Carl's neighbor or something like that, like on the other side of his house. Like, that would be fun, but
that would be funny.
At the end of the day, like peripherally watching Carl. Because there's so many memorable characters. To answer the question hardline, I myself have not, but I know that it's been an inkling of other things because this concept works so well, and so we'd love to pioneer it and keep going with it. I think it'd be fun. I think it's totally doable, and fan fiction's existed for years in one way or another, but a lot of it's writing. A lot of it, like I know you guys can't see it, and I've already pointed out once, but like these comic books about Hitman are literally just fan fiction that were wrote by some guy that his name's not even on the cover. They're under Dynamite issues, but they really explain like the lore of his childhood, for example. And you don't have to know anything about the game to know that, but like it doesn't explain that. So to dig deep into fan fiction, where you're going to get things that are generally here's some spots that you've wondered about that there is no content on whatsoever that can get pushed out and explained a bit more. That's kind of what DETHKAST reached to do in the first place. And I think it lends itself to such versatility and variability that pretty much any show that you're a fan of, and especially we said Bob's Burgers earlier, why can't you be the someone else's restaurant down the street that watches Jimmy Pesto and him argue all the time? Like, you could do whatever you want if you put the time and effort and you're really a fan. So that's the biggest thing. I guess I'll kind of put it down to the end. You got to be a big fan. You have to know the lore, and you got to be like a 100% about the topic that you're doing, because otherwise you'll run into snafus. We're even as super fans of this show like we are, where again we're like, oh yeah, fuck, but that probably hasn't happened in the lore yet, huh? Like, yeah, we can't say that yet.
There's such a rich lore that it's the idea that we also don't want to copy and paste. The format works, but it doesn't just want to be like, oh, you're just the Venture Brothers version of DETHKAST or something like that.
No.
And I mean, like, there's even a Death Clock poster in Venture Brothers.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
So they are both in the same universe in theory. And Brennan Small he's the original Sergeant Hatred. So
now we're making some statements.
Yeah. See, I would be open to doing. I would be open to doing more Adult Swim content. It's something that we actually, when this show started taking off and people were noticing it and we were getting huge numbers off the front end of this, that's a discussion we had in the podcast was, should we make more Adult Swim content? Because obviously there's a market out there for it. There's nostalgia out there for it.
But you don't want to beat that horse and make it dead.
No, exactly.
And then beat the dead horse.
I think we're riding a horse right now that does not plan on stopping. Until that horse wants to get some water and rest for a little bit, I'm going to keep riding that horse. But I think I'm open to more Adult Swim content down the line, but I would say that it would be quite some time before I would be ready for it, because a lot of people don't realize this takes a lot of time and effort and planning and organizing and collaborating and meeting and concept meetings.
We have to rewatch the whole season at bare minimum.
We would, to get the whole scope, like the grand scope of what we would even do for season 1, I feel like we'd have to watch the entire show just to be like, what are we even going to do here? So yeah, to answer your question, I'm totally open to do it in the future, but I want to ride this horse out first and see where we can end up in another year. So,
good answer.
We even talked yesterday, Lucian and I, about what our ultimate outcome would be with once the movie happens. Is that because Aqua Teen got picked up for more episodes? We think more so along the lines that hopefully the movie, they're taking their time and making this the end story that we needed, the conclusion that we didn't get.
Right.
And now, instead of them getting more episodes, who knows, maybe every couple years they do a tour and then do a small little special or something to promote it and get them back out on tour and all that.
Right.
But it's also content that's very near and dear to our hearts. So we want to treat it with reverence.
And that's what I was saying, is like, if you want to do this, we did this, we're doing it right, in our opinion, but also we're doing it right because we are big fans of the show, and it's something that it doesn't feel like work. It doesn't feel like I have to go do the research. I mean, like, I definitely do it and I have to do it, but I'm happy to do it. And I would be about plenty of other shows, but there's only so many things in this life that I'm actually like, I know each character and I know their movements, their theories, how they talk, like how they act, how they walk, and like things like that. And so to do it, we'd want to do it right with the same foot forward we've had as super fans of Metalocalypse, and I can't think of another thing like right offhand. Adult Swim stuff is right up our alley for that, especially as a team, and on the Weekly Geekly, because and again, since we're on the channel, a lot of folks know, but again, if they don't, I mean, there's me, there's me, Lucian, Nate, and Zach, which are all main hosts on the show. We also have Devin. We also have a guy that was an intern but became a correspondent host, who's our producer named Brandon. Like, we have a team of 5 that's why sometimes when you listen to our episodes, I haven't been on the past few roundtable ones because I've been busy doing Hot Dads and DETHKAST and my own shit and Twitch streaming and I talked with Rob, man, a guy that's in our Discord from Germany, about Hitman for 2 hours the other day on Twitch. So like,
nice.
We have a litany of hosts for a reason, and but I can't think of like one show or one endeavor in specific off the top of my head that would lend itself to the level of this won't feel like work. It's a labor of love, and we already have such a good atmosphere of our mindset around this show that like I can place. It was so easy to place myself in a Metalocalypse. Be brutal, be angry, say fuck a lot. Like, yeah, easy. But not if you didn't watch the show a whole bunch or you were only a passive fan. You might feel a little bit trepidatious about it. So
right,
I would want to do it with something that we're just as big as fans of.
Hell yeah. I think it shows in what we're doing. If you really take the time to listen and get the jokes and see the humor for what it is, I think as a Metalocalypse fan, you'd love this show. So if you made it through this so far and you haven't even checked out DETHKAST yet, please go check it out. Just search DETHKAST on Spotify, SoundCloud, and you'll find it right away. I guarantee it.
Anywhere.
Well, hey, Zero Omens, dude, I really appreciate all the questions. This meant a lot to all of us. Like, just to have the opportunity to sit down with you and discuss how we got here and what makes this clock turn. I really appreciate it, man.
Of course, and I once again thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. It's awesome to be on here talking with you guys and discussing the ins and outs of DETHKAST.
Well, hell, man, this has been a blast. I say we do another one of these in another 5 episodes. Why not?
Oh, yeah. I'm down.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you for all your support, man. We appreciate the Zero Omens community for all their love that you guys have shown us.
Go give him a follow.
Do it.
Go give him a share.
Go
give him
subscribe.
A subscribe button.
Do it now. Do it now. Well, anything else you guys want to say before we get out of here?
Tom?
Oh, just keep listening, keep doing your things. Hot Dads is amazing. I'm a sober uncle and I fucking love it. I'm never a dad, but it's good stuff. And yeah, all the other content, these guys are good. It's a good network. I'm just lucky they like me.
Oh, make me all sappy.
Yeah, well, no, I mean, I even had that on the second episode. Once I got to like writing my 4th sketch, I'm like, am I taking over the show? I don't want to.
And I'm in the background like, no, keep going.
No, man. Like, you're fueling this fire just as much as the rest of us, bro.
Right.
But thank you all, and thanks Zero. Having that shout out was the coolest thing in my life.
Yeah, you literally did that on my birthday too.
Really?
My birthday was October 6th. I think the video came out the day beforehand. Or like maybe the day of, but we were at a bar drinking for my birthday, and AO actually tagged me in it. Yeah, AO tagged me in it on Discord, and I was like, holy shit. And you know what's funny, Zero, is my wife is actually a huge fan of yours, and she's been digging into your content forever, so when that happened, she was freaking out.
Really?
She's the one that showed us. She's the one that showed us because she was looking for an iceberg YouTube video.
Right.
And she was like, hey, guys, there's one about Metalocalypse. So we were like, oh, that's fucking cool. So she started watching it, and she was like, you're in it!
Yeah, so I think she was actually chatting live on your Ed and Eddie iceberg that just released. She was like, oh my god, I was just talking to him the other night. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
That's awesome.
Glad to have you as a friend.
Hell yeah, dude.
Of course.
Well, the sky is the limit when we got friends like Zero Omens, man. We appreciate you. Thank you all for listening to Behind DETHKAST with Zero Omens. Very special treat for us to actually sit down and talk about what we've been doing for the last like 8 to 10 months. If you enjoy it, go ahead, leave a like, leave a subscribe, and if you haven't yet, for the 3rd time, get on over to YouTube and subscribe to Zero Omens. Plenty of amazing content there. We're going to get out of here. Take care of yourself and be good people.